Hi, you guys. We're back with my Crypto 101 series, and today we're going to be going over Cronos, or Crow for short. Now, this is a monumental coin, and our president Donald Trump actually has a strategic partnership with the Cronos platform, okay? And also, if you've ever heard of Crypto.com, which is one of the biggest crypto exchanges in the world, Cronos is actually their native currency. Yep, I said it. So I'm going to be giving you all the details about this coin so you can see if it's a good investment for you. But before we get started, welcome back to Getting Digital with Deja. Alright, you guys, so first I'm going to give you a bit of an overview about the Cronos platform and the Crow coin, okay? So, Cronos is an open source blockchain and Crow is the token. The token launched in 2021 and it is native to the Crypto.com platform, which is the fourth largest crypto exchange in the world, okay? Cronos stepped in to address Ethereum's dApps and scalability limitations with interoperability frameworks and consensus engines that allow multiple blockchains to connect and exchange assets and data at significant loads without intermediaries. Cronos is an EVM-compatible blockchain built with the Cosmos SDK and integrated with IBC. Now, I'm pretty sure that didn't make any sense. What that last part that I just said, IBC, SDK, EVM. Okay, hold on. EVM should make sense, Ethereum Virtual Machine, because I literally did a whole entire episode about this, so that part should make sense. But the SDK, the Cosmos, and the IBC, totally clueless right now. It's okay, I got you. Your girl's gonna teach you about everything, and we're gonna break it down, okay? We're gonna break it down. Okay, so as usual, we're breaking it down from piece by piece. So the first point that I made was that Cronos is an open source blockchain, and Crow, which is going to be CRO, is its native token to the blockchain. Now I'm going to give you the tokenomics of the Crow token. Its market cap is around $2.92 to $2.98 billion. Its maximum supply is 100 billion tokens. Its circulating supply is around 42.3 billion tokens. Its price is around 6 to 7 cents. And its transactions per second is around 60,000 transactions per second. So let's get a little bit technical. So like I said, Cronos is an open source blockchain and Crow is a token native to that blockchain. Now, Crow is also the cryptocurrency native to Crypto.com, which is a crypto exchange, okay? The fourth largest in the world. So remember when I did a whole episode on Binance and the Binance coin? Literally, it's the same exact thing with Crypto.com, but it's going to be with the Crow coin. And of course, it has its own characteristics and things like that. But the concept is still exactly the same, okay? So again, the fourth largest cryptocurrency exchange in the world. Now, I want to also add, you have to remember that these crypto exchanges are centralized, okay? You have some DEX, okay, some decentralized exchanges, but when it comes to Binance and Crypto.com, these are very centralized, and you can see that through their consensus mechanism and their protocols, okay, which I'm going to get into a little bit deeper later on in this episode. But I just want you guys to know that it is the native token to Cronos and it is the native token to Crypto.com, but all of these things operate as one, okay? Now let's go on to the second point that I mentioned in my overview, which is that Cronos was created to fix the limitability of the interoperability and the scalability of Ethereum dApps and smart contracts and things like that. I know there was a lot of abilities in there, okay, but I'm going to explain it. Cronos is a blockchain network built to run Ethereum style applications using the Cosmos environment, okay? Now, that didn't make sense, but I'm here to teach you. Stick with me. So we're going to break it down piece by piece. We're going to break it down as far as the Ethereum applications and then the Cosmos based environment. So let's first go with the Ethereum applications. So Ethereum gave the platform for the dApps, for the smart contracts, and the tools for developers to be able to do their things on the platform as far as like smart contracts, dApps, tokenization, everything you need, okay? Ethereum gave you the tools and the framework for that. And also remember, Ethereum is dominant in this area of smart contracts and dApps. You have other platforms like Solana and XRP and other things that can do the same things essentially, but Ethereum is the dominant one, okay? So that is the one that you want to use the framework for and that you want to use the developer tools for, because it is the most developed of them all. So Cosmos focuses on the modular design and the interoperability between blockchains. So after doing the research on exactly how the Cronos incorporates Cosmos and the Ethereum aspect into their entire platform, I came up with the research of this straight from the textbook, okay guys? So Cronos tries to take the parts of each that matter most for builders to deploy Solidity applications with familiar tools and wallets, and the ability to connect into an interchain world rather than living inside a single execution environment. Okay, so essentially what that is saying is that Cronos essentially took all the positive, good developer aspects of Ethereum and their smart contracts and their dApps and their tools, and then partnered it with this Cosmos environment where it creates that, because you know the Cosmos environment is creating that interoperability between the chains for them to essentially exchange data and communicate with each other in a sense. So it takes the good parts and the most developed parts of both, and it's creating this platform to where developers can go and they can use it, okay? So they can deploy, you know, all the Ethereum tools and things like that, and then have it in this Cosmos type of environment of interoperability between these chains, and then combine it both and be able to use everything on there and do what they need to do on this platform, okay? So one of the Ethereum tools that is going to be greatly used on this Cronos platform is going to be the EVM, which is going to be known as Ethereum Virtual Machine. Again, I did an entire video for this, but if you haven't watched it, I did take the textbook definition from my last video and I just placed it right in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and read that for you guys. So EVM, smart contracts can be written in Solidity, which means self-executing, and interacted with through the same broad family of tools used on Ethereum. If you have an app that already knows how to speak the EVM model, Cronos is designed to reduce the amount of transaction required, okay? So essentially, you know, these machines and these like platforms, they're speaking to each other. These data, these computers are literally speaking to each other, transferring data and things like that. So when you have it already, an application that already is familiar with that language of the EVM, you can go ahead and bring it onto the Cronos platform and do as you please, okay? So that is the amazing thing. So it just reduces the amount of hiccups that can happen with transactions and deploying applications and smart contracts and things like that, because the language is not foreign, okay? It's not foreign. It's not something new that needs to be learned. It's already been implemented through the major developer platform of Ethereum, okay? So some people might not want to use Ethereum because of certain reasons, you know, especially it's layer 1, but you know, people use layer 2 nowadays, so I feel like that fixed that problem. But there are specific reasons why people might not want to use the Ethereum platform, but they love the tools on the Ethereum platform. In that case, they could just go to Cronos and do the same thing that they were doing on Ethereum on the Cronos platform, and maybe even a little bit more, because this is a Cosmos based environment. So I know I've mentioned Cosmos based environment many times, so I'm going to give you the textbook definition of exactly what I mean by that, and it's going to be known as the Cosmos SDK, okay? Cosmos SDK is a modular open source framework designed to simplify the development of application-specific blockchains, often called app chains. Instead of building a decentralized app on top of a shared general-purpose network like Ethereum, developers use the SDK to build an entire independent blockchain optimized for specific use cases. So Ethereum has a lot of different use cases, a lot of generic use cases, a lot of just totally different, okay? But when it comes to this Cosmos SDK type of environment implemented on the Cronos blockchain on their network, it essentially allows a developer to have optimized specific use cases, okay? So you're not building it just on a general type of platform. You're building your own independent blockchain, your own independent applications, and you're able to optimize whatever use case that you're doing it for. So the Cronos platform is used for developers to develop a application-specific blockchain, which is why they call them app chains, okay? Now, that is amazing. It's application-specific blockchain, okay? So that means all the tools and everything that they need as developers is going to be there, and they can optimize every single tool needed, okay? Those tools are coming from the Ethereum platform, okay? It's Ethereum language, I guess you could say, but they can use it in more than just a general sense. They can take what they need, the different tools and different aspects from Ethereum, and go ahead and optimize it and create their own application specific blockchain, okay? Not a general blockchain, application specific blockchain. Now, I know I kind of repeated myself a few times in that like explanation, but I feel like you got it though, right? You understood it. It's because I repeated it. Whatever it is that you want, you can optimize it specifically towards you as a developer, as what you want, okay? Now, again, don't get it twisted. You can optimize things on like Ethereum platform and things like that, but it is so generic. It's on like a bigger shared generalized network, okay? Cronos is more so specific. It's application specific to the developer. So that brings me to my next point when I went through my overview. My third point was when I said that the Cronos network essentially uses EVM, it uses SDK, it uses Cosmos, which is like the same thing, and then it uses IBC. Now, what the heck is IBC? This is a whole new term that I have go ahead and entered into the chat. All right, y'all. So I'm going to go over what IBC means, okay? So Cronos IBC, which stands for Inter-Blockchain Communication, allows the Cronos EVM chain to seamlessly exchange tokens, data, and smart contract messages with other Cosmos-based blockchains, enhances the Cronos ecosystem by connecting it to broader decentralized worlds, allowing for efficient cross-chain DApp functionality. So essentially, the job of this IBC is to bring everything together, okay? So you have the Ethereum tools in the Cosmos-based environment, and it's bringing it all together, which is why it's called IBC, which stands for Inter-Blockchain Communication. It's allowing all the things to merge together to communicate with each other and to also communicate with outside blockchains, which is where that interoperability comes in, that interoperability aspect of the Cosmos SDK, okay? All three of those together are what make up the Cronos platform. So while they are three different aspects or categories, I guess you can say, they all work seamlessly with each other to get the job done. Anything that you're doing on the blockchain, you're going to be using all three aspects of it, whether that be tokenization, whether that be smart contracts, dApps, anything, you're going to be using all three parts of what I just talked about in all of your transactions. So next, let's move into a little bit of juicier conversation, which is going to be its consensus mechanism. And it has a POA consensus mechanism, which is proof of authority. Now, we literally went over that in my last video about proof of authority, but this one is a little bit different, you guys, because this is like pure centralization. I know proof of authority is used with Binance and the Binance token, but it's a little bit more lenient. Cronos is like, no, we're fully in charge of this. Y'all ain't got no say so, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and give you their definition of the POA type of consensus algorithm that they use. So, POA consensus. Validators are chosen by invitation only. Invitation only, okay? With developers occasionally opening periods for accepting applications. Cronos POA uses 24 hand-picked validators to verify transactions and open new blocks, giving the consensus mechanism authority because the chosen validators have been vetted and are considered trusted. Now, you guys, 24 hand-picked invitation-only validators on this network. It don't matter how much you got staked. It don't matter how loyal you are of a customer. Okay? It don't matter how much you know about this Cronos platform. If they ain't picking you, they ain't picking you. Invitation only? This is like pure centralization. This totally goes against all the rules of crypto, all the things that crypto stands for. This completely goes just against it, okay? And it's pure centralization, but you have to remember this is a centralized crypto exchange. This coin is connected to Crypto.com, which is a centralized exchange, okay? So I thought this was so crazy because I'm like, this is literally not crypto, but it literally is crypto, but it's literally not crypto. So I'm going to give you a pure example of how centralized this platform is, okay? The Cronos platform and Crypto.com platform is. So, all right, you guys, back in 2021, they did a burn, the biggest burn in history. They burned 70 billion tokens, okay, because they were aiming to have more of a decentralized type of environment and create a little bit more scarcity, okay? So you have to remember their total supply was 100 billion tokens. They burned 70 billion tokens, which means took them out of circulation, out of supply, burned them for forever. And so that means they burned 70% of the total max supply of tokens, okay? A lot of people were like for this, okay? Because the less tokens, the more its value. It's becoming more decentralized and things like that, okay? So that was their aim, was to create more decentralization within the network, which is why they burned that 70 billion tokens, okay? All right? Now, in 2025, just 4 years later, Crypto.com was like, nah, we want to bring all those tokens back, okay? We want to bring it back to 100 billion maximum supply, okay? So they reissued those 70 billion tokens back into the network. Okay, now, the craziest part is a lot of the consumers and customers and users were totally against this, completely against this, went on social media and everything saying how much they were against this, okay? And there was nothing they could do about it because they had no say-so in any of the protocol changes or any of the anything going on within the network. So the way they were able to even pass this, okay, regardless of the users' like dissatisfaction with this decision that they were making, was because remember, they have the hand-picked validators, okay? So they have the hand-picked voters of this. Those voters are controlling 70% of what happens with this network, okay? So majority always rules, the dominance rules, okay? So when you have 70% of these validators saying what you want them to say, voting how you want them to vote, the vote is going to go through. Okay, the vote is going to go through, and that's exactly what happened. A lot of people were saying like, oh, they chose validators who were like beneficial to them. You know, they only chose validators who were going to vote yes on this and things like that. I mean, duh. When you have that much authority, I mean, there's no might. That's exactly what they did. And that is pure centralization and manipulation at its finest. And that is why I am a little disappointed in the Crypto.com Cronos platform, okay? Doesn't mean it's a bad investment, okay? I'm just saying I am a little bit disappointed because that was just pure centralization at its finest. And if you were an independent validator, because they do have those as well, if you were an independent validator on the Cronos network, even if you voted no, it didn't matter because you're not part of the 70% of hand-picked validators that they chose to do this. So it's like your vote didn't matter at all. It's like voting for the president, but the electoral college ends up actually picking who becomes your president. It's the same, bro. It's literally the same thing. Like everybody, like the mass majority voted for Hillary Clinton, but how did Trump end up our president? Electoral college. So you may be thinking, why did they even do that? That doesn't make sense. Why would they bring 70 billion more tokens back into the environment after they just burned it 4 years ago? Well, according to Cronos, okay, and Crypto.com, it was to boost the essential growth of the ecosystem and also to prepare for the launch of their ETF, which is going to be Exchange Traded Fund. If you don't know what that means, I got the textbook definition for you, baby. Okay, so ETF, Exchange Traded Fund, a regulated investment vehicle traded on traditional stock exchanges that tracks the performance of one or more currencies, allows investors to buy exposure to crypto price movements without directly owning them, okay? So, for all of my stock girlies and guys, If you're into stocks, you know exactly how this works, okay? But if you're not, I'm going to give you a little bit of example. So in stocks, we have what they call options, okay? So essentially, you're buying into a contract without actually owning those assets. So you're buying, each contract is 100 shares, okay? So if I want to buy one NVIDIA contract, if I want to trade one NVIDIA contract, it's going to be 100 shares of that NVIDIA contract. I don't own those shares, okay? But I am essentially buying into it to expose myself to the price, essentially. So when that price goes up, I'm going to make money off of it. If the price goes down, I'm going to make money off of it, okay? Now that is considered a trade. That's not exactly the same as an ETF. So when you're trading those contracts, those puts and those calls, that is a trade, okay? But it's very similar to how the ETFs work because you're tracking the price and making money off of the price movement of that stock, okay? So the ETFs, an easier way to understand it, if you didn't get that really complicated example that I used for I don't know what reason, if you didn't understand that, ETFs essentially, imagine like a big basket of like different cryptocurrencies, right? And it gives you buy into that crypto basket, okay? You don't essentially own each like single crypto that's in that basket, but you're able to profit off of the price movement. So altogether, the price movement of that basket. So if crypto is doing really good, then the price of that basket is going to be going up and you're going to be making money, okay? Without actually having to own the underlying asset. Now, if it goes down, you're losing money even though you don't own it. So it's like a 50-50 chance, you know? So that's essentially what it is that Cronos was trying to do, or not trying to do, that they did do. They did launch their own ETF, okay? And then that brings me into their strategic partnership that they have with our president, Donald Trump. So one thing that I do want to exaggerate on here is that those tokens, those 70 billion tokens that were reissued, they weren't necessarily reissued into the market immediately. They were actually reminted into the Cronos Strategic Reserve, which is essentially going to be an escrow wallet, okay? So, and that is all a part of the big plan of the strategic plan and partnership that they have with Donald Trump and the TMTG. Now, if you don't know what TMTG is, it's just the Trump Media and Technology Group. Okay, that is this whole little group that Trump created for social media and technology and all these different type of facades. So now I'm going to give you the textbook definition of the strategic type of partnership that Trump Media and the Cronos/Crypto.com platform have with each other. Trump Media and Technology Group, majority owned by Donald Trump, partnered with Crypto.com to create a 6 billion plus Cronos treasury and integrate the CRO token into Truth Social. The deal included TMTG buying $105 million in CRO, with the token becoming a utility for Truth Social products, aiming to launch a new public company, MCGA, Make CRO Great Again. TMTG also filed for cryptocurrency ETFs that are tied to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and CRO. Isn't that insane? Make CRO great again? What is happening here? Make CRO great again? Like make America great again? Again, I am not making fun of this platform in any shape or fashion. It's just the strategic plan that they have. It's just kind of like insane, thinking that like at one point people weren't believing in crypto wasn't even like big and popping because people were so speculative of it, but now people are still speculative of it. But it's like now we have partnerships with our president talking about make CRO great again, which is basically make crypto great again. I don't believe it ever fell off, but I'm just saying that's just really amazing to see in today's world, because as I study crypto, I'm seeing how it is more and more being integrated within our society and into our everyday lives, okay? So this is a real thing. I'm not teaching you guys about crypto just for like just for fun. No, I'm teaching you guys so you're prepared and you understand how it works, because I'm probably going to sound crazy, you guys, but you're going to come back a few years and look at this video. Crypto is here to stay. Crypto is replacing paper money, fiat money. It's replacing all of that, okay? It will take some time. First, we have to go fully digital, okay? And just because you're fully digital doesn't mean you're fully into crypto. That just means it's all digital payments, okay? But then it's going to slowly but surely trickle down into us being a crypto-based type of society, especially when they start really issuing these CBDCs, okay, which are these central bank digital coins or currencies, okay? They already have so many pilot programs about this already in China, in Africa, and Sweden. Sweden is almost a cashless society. Sweden is almost 100% cashless society. So that tells you right here that these countries aren't playing. And we have things like Agenda 2030 that is literally written in the Agenda 2030 about this digital society. So it's like, I'm not here just to talk and run my mouth. I'm here to teach y'all. Okay, so when we have coins that are making strategic relationships and partnerships with our president of the United States, that's something you should learn about, and that's something you should listen to. I feel like I just went on a rant, so my apologies, but I feel like I had to do that. I just had to let y'all know, okay? This is a really big thing that's happening, and it actually made the price of the CRO token skyrocket when this was announced. When I say skyrocket, I mean skyrocket. Okay, so I'm not telling you what to invest in and things like that, because again, you know, Trump has a way of manipulating the market. You know, even with his coin, he had the Trump coin. As soon as it came out, people bought into it and it boosted the price of the coin all the way up and things like that, just for him to rug pull and the price of the coin to go down. The coin had no utility. It had nothing about it that was of real world usage, but people bought into it because it was Donald Trump. Okay, this is different. People are not just buying into this because it has Donald Trump's name attached to it. This has actual utility. It's connected to an actual platform. It's connected to the 4th largest crypto exchange in the world, okay? And Trump just so happens to have a strategic partnership with them, okay? Using it on his social media platform, which is going to be Truth Social, okay? So all of that, really, you have to take in all those aspects and really take a deeper dive inside of this and see exactly why this coin is very important, okay? It's not top 5, it's not top 10, okay? But that doesn't mean that it's not important. And the crazier part is it's around 6 to 7 cents. So what's the harm in investing $1 into this? But must I repeat, this is not financial advice. This is just strictly my opinion and my research. I give you the information. You choose what you want to do with that. Again, not financial advice. Now, before I go, I wanted to add this one little fun fact, and I thought this added to like the centralization of the network in general, because I guess it's like security and like tracking people and watching what they're doing, like surveillance. So here I have this little fun fact for you guys. So an emerging use case for the Cronos platform is involving using AI agents to manage on-chain transactions, create tax reports, and detect fraud. That's my fun fact of the day. I feel like that is a lot of surveillance happening with these AI bots, okay, on a centralized platform. All right, so get used to it, you guys. Crypto is becoming centralized, all right? This is only the beginning. Alrighty, you guys, that wraps up our Cronos episode talking about our CRO token. And tomorrow I will be introducing a new token, which is going to be Avalanche, okay? Someone in the comments requested that I do a deep dive inside of the Avalanche platform and their token. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I feel honored to do this, you guys. Just keep throwing the coins at me, these altcoins, okay? Throw them at me. I will do my research and then I will have a video for you that same week, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do that for you guys tomorrow. So stay tuned for our Crypto 101 series. But never forget that pretty girls can do crypto too. See you guys tomorrow.